Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. If you are still around, this is the main stage at Sirha Arabia. So feel free to join us here because the conversation continues and we have some excellent speakers who will be joining me on stage to speak about dairy trade and exports, how to navigate this market with its opportunities and challenges. So we're going to look at the dynamics, in this industry with a focus on the key strategies and opportunities. And I'm very pleased to welcome our guests on stage. So I count of you, all those who are here, to give them a huge round of applause. Please join me in welcoming Haitham Al-Maghrabi, Mustafa Baman, Amy Four, and Clément Royo. Come on, guys, some cheering. Yes, let's make some noise. So thank you for joining. So I hope that we'll have more people coming because this is also a very interesting topic. To be honest with you, I didn't know much about the dairy export business before yesterday, and I have become quite knowledgeable. You will tell me if I was it was good or not. Right. So before we start, maybe just a quick round, just for everybody knows who is sitting at the table here. So you can grab some hand mics. All right. So I know, Haitham, you are the director of the International Buyers Program of the Saudi Export. Maybe a few words.
Yes. My name is Haitham Al-Maghrabi. I work with the Saudi Export Development Authority as the general manager for international program buyers. Mainly the Saudi Export Development Authority, the TPO trade promotion organization. They help the exporter to find a potential buyer, remove some barriers for the exporter. Also, we give them some incentive, financing for the exporting through the Exim Bank. Also, we gave them some market study, trade missions. We attend here also in these exhibitions. As well, we attend with the international exhibition with several manufacturers. We have like more than 3,500 manufacturing under Saudi Export. We help them to grow internationally. Yeah, that's all.
Fantastic. I was going to stop you and say, hey, I have more questions. We get back to you. So, Amy, tell us more. I know it's you are Director of Education at the USA Cheese Guild, where you're promoting American cheese globally. So I'll let you say a few words.
Great. Thank you so much for having me this evening. So I work with the USA Cheese Guild. That's the marketing entity for the U.S. Dairy Export Council. And what that is, it's an independent trade organization really representing our U.S. dairy suppliers that want to sell their products overseas. So we provide a range of services to our dairy exporters, helping them to navigate and understand the opportunities for U.S. dairy products in overseas markets, helping them understand, the regulatory complexities about getting their products into the market, and then, really importantly, helping them to then, drive that demand within the market for these products. And that's really where the USA Cheese Guild comes in terms of, helping on the business development side, the marketing promotional side. So once those products are in the market, they stay here and consumers, decide to, purchase and continue to purchase our products.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amy. And Clément Royo, you're the CEO of Argana. Tell us more. What are you doing?
Yes, absolutely. I'm the CEO of Argana. Argana is the main shareholder of a French and Moroccan company which makes dairy products out of camel milk.
Fantastic.
So camel milk yogurt, camel milk cheese, camel milk cream, and This started in Morocco, and it won't stop here. That's why I'm here. And I'm sure there are a lot of camels here in the Gulf, a lot of milk, and soon there will be a lot of yogurt and a lot of cheese.
And last but not least, Mustafa Baman, you represent France Originelle, and an organization that facilitates trade between the French producers and the consumers in this region, in the MENA region.
Yes, I set up France Original a couple of years ago. in order to be a bridge between a couple of French small companies who would like to have opportunities not only in Saudi Arabia but more generally in MENA area, including UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Morocco as well. And generally, for small companies, this is very hard for them to go through all the process in terms of not only commercial and marketing, but also in terms of logistics. Is it possible for them to export their product? Do they have the capacity to adapt to local regulation? And this is what we do for a couple of French companies, and among them is a dairy company.
All right. So we're here at Sirha Arabia 2024, and of course, I would like to speak about the Vision 2030. Really, what are the main opportunities? How come that Saudi dairy exporters can see, especially in light of Vision 2030's focus on really expanding non-oil sectors?
Yeah, let me give you some 2023 numbers. Now we export like more 4 billion Riyal Saudi in the dairy product for like more than 59 countries, mainly in the GCC and the MENA region. One of our 2030 vision or target, we need to expand our non-oil export like more than 50% from the GDP. Yeah, that's all.
Right. Okay. I'll get a little bit talk about that later. Maybe Mustafa, tell us how France Original is really working to build strong trade relationship between the French dairy producers and consumers here in the MENA region, and how do you navigate, the difficult regulatory environment within the region? Probably tell us a little bit about that.
Well, definitely navigation is the right word because we have to go through very specific, to very specific constraints that are very, specific to each country. And generally, when you come from an export perspective, especially from France or Europe, companies tend to consider it as a global market. It is in some way, but it is not regulation-wise, logistic-wise, and language-wise. We also have to be very specific for each country. Even inside the same country, you can have different, regulations that are imposed by your customers. And the great part of our job is to be able not only to show the product, but to be able to allow our partner in each country to import and to go through SFDA regulation in Saudi Arabia, MOPH in Qatar, Dubai municipality for
Right.
UAE, in order to avoid all the constraints we can face when it comes to exports.
So if I translate what you're saying is that we shouldn't be looking at the MENA region like all the countries there
Sure.
are the same. And that's a big mistake if we do that. There was one thing when we met this morning, one thing you said that really made me smile. You said that, you told me that when you started off, you got everything wrong. So it was all the don'ts. You did all the don'ts, right? And you have some experience on what to do and what mistakes not to commit. That was very funny, but at the end of the day, this is exactly what you're saying.
Yes, because we all have, a theory, and then we face practical, activity, and you have to deal with this FDA. You have to deal with all, the institutions to know how hard it's going to be to have even the best product from France going to this area. And one of the biggest mistakes, as I said, is not to be able to consider each country as very specific,
Right.
In many fields, not only logistic, but also in terms of commercial. Tourism in KSA is far different from tourism in UAE, and then you might adapt your range, you may adapt your strategy in terms of business development.
Fantastic. And Amy, that must resonate. Maybe you would like to share some insights on that. How are you doing the major challenges that you face when you are navigating the troubled waters? Because like we said, it's not like a smooth journey because it's so different from locations, countries. So maybe some insights on that?
To echo your statement, the MENA region as a whole, it's not the same. Exporting to one country from the other, there's different regulations, rules that we have to follow. So it's really kind of having, boots on the ground that can understand the local regulations, the local needs or the needs of the local market, so we can, then adapt our strategies accordingly to what we need to do to best serve the market. So it's really, we believe having a local presence to facilitate those conversations with the local governments, with the local customers, so we can really make sure that we're serving them in the way that they need to be served. And that may be different, from like what you said in UAE to Saudi Arabia or in other countries here in the region.
Mm-hmm. And Clement, from your perspective, maybe if you could share some insights, I mean, when you're doing business here, how is it?
Well, first of all, in my trade, this specific trade, it's kind of a new market. We're opening a new market. Because, so basically the dairy, the yogurt market, for instance, I'm into yogurt. The yogurt market in the MENA region is $11 billion, and all of it is cow milk. And well, in some ways that makes sense because it's very productive. But when you step a bit outside in the heat and in the desert, you kind of think that maybe there are other ways. And that's why we think there's a lot of perspective for a lot of prospect for camel milk dairy. But here the challenges abound because basically what's most important is the milk and how you get the milk, and then build from a ground up a new industry that will slowly put the camel milk dairy onto the map and into the region. And of course, again, as the other said, you cannot do it once in one country. This will be done in Saudi Arabia, it will be done in Oman, it will be done in Dubai, one country at a time.
Right. And maybe coming back, referring to what you were saying, what are the common mistakes that French dairy producers face when entering this market? What are the most common mistakes when it comes to consumer preferences, market access, and how are you helping them to overcome these challenges?
Two challenges, by the way. This is to understand the way, because dairy means a lot. It can be so different from camel milk than French brie or French camembert. So you have to adapt, to try to adapt to the local consumption, to adapt to also to the different channels of distribution. And I insist on this. And you also have to take into account all these, the bad things we don't want to take care about. Or when it comes to logistics, when it comes to adding, labels in Arabic, when it comes to adapt to production and expiry dates, it's a mess for all of us, and all of us hate this. But if you don't do this, you cannot have this is the key to be able to sell your products to local distributor. So definitely, I would advise French companies, but not only, to anticipate these issues. I know that this is a mess for everybody, but if you don't do this, trust me, by experience, you will regret it. And also try to adapt the products. For instance, try to have long shelf lives products that can be shipped by sea freight in order to reduce the cost. But sometimes you can have some, probably some items like your camel products, you will have to ship by air. And this is another, issue because you will have to go through other countries for reefer transportation and blah, blah. So you definitely have to work with a very strong partner who knows how it works in his local market, but also to work with an ecosystem in your country of origin to know what kind of documents you have to provide, what kind of health certificate, and sometimes it can be very disturbing because you will have one official version and then you will have your local partner who will tell you, no, this is not what I want, this is this document.
And the in real life version.
Exactly, the field version.
All right, thank you. You referred to some French cheese, speaking about camembert, and I'm curious, Amy, when speaking about European cheese who are traditionally quite dominant here in this region, what are the major challenges that you face when promoting American cheese, and how are you overcoming, if I may say, this brand competition?
Yeah, great question. Definitely biggest challenge is probably awareness. As you mentioned, when you think about cheese, U.S. isn't really top of mind. We think about the great producers in Europe, France, Italy, Switzerland. That's what's top of mind for people. But the reality is the United States, we came from the European industry. The Europeans came to the U.S., settled in the U.S., brought their cheese-making traditions with them. And so we have this history building upon the great history established in Europe of cheesemakers in the U.S. making, traditional European styles. The Italians came and started making Parmesan. The French started making the brie cheeses. So we have that production of those, old world European style cheeses in the U.S. But it's also really interesting. We also have a lot of new and different innovative cheeses because we aren't kind of bound by some of the same regulations there are about producing cheese as there are in Europe. So, the U.S. has become, quite a large cheese producing industry. We're actually the largest cheese producer in the world. Last year we made over 6.4 million metric tons of cheese, and we're the world's largest exporter. But the thing is, people don't know that
Right.
outside of the U.S. So really, our biggest challenge is making that awareness known around the world. And the kind of key to overcoming that is really outreach and education. Coming to events like Sirha Arabia to showcase our industry, our
Right.
cheesemakers, our products. Making sure people are aware. Hey, we've got cheeses too, and we also spend a lot of time and energy and effort in education programs within our key export markets, making sure everyone across the food trade, is one aware and is well versed in the products that are available to them and how they can, utilize them in their
Right.
markets. So that's really key, outreach and education to kind of get over that kind of gap there is between, Europe and the U.S.
Right.
in terms of awareness.
Yeah, on a personal note, so I'm half French myself, so I have obviously a preference for French cheese, but
Thank you.
I'm not
Wait
saying,
for the but.
but yesterday I had the opportunity to taste an American cheese. I was very curious. It was a combination of 3 different cheese. Was amazing. Was it really good?
Well, thank you. We're glad you enjoyed it. And again, we utilize some of the tradition from our European ancestors, but then we kind of put our American spin on it, if you will. And like you said, we're kind of combining different cheese making techniques, introducing new flavors, and really coming up with what we believe are new, interesting, kind of innovative products. And today's consumer, I feel like, everybody's looking for the next, what's the new next big thing? And I
Absolutely.
think that's where, the U.S. can really, resonate and fit with consumers. We've got new, interesting things for them to try,
Right.
notwithstanding some of the great traditional products that consumers love.
Yeah,
but
I was
let's try some new things.
tempted to ask Haitham the question, what do you prefer, American cheese or French cheese? I don't want any fight on the stage, so don't answer that question. I have another real one for you. So tell us a little bit more about the International Buyers Program of Saudi Export, how you're strategically supporting the global presence of Saudi dairy products, and what innovative approaches are you using to, access new markets?
Okay. As I told you and mentioned before, we have like a promotion activities. Before that, we study all the world market. We see which country they have the highly demand with the dairy products, which country have less barrier for how to export dairy products. As you all know, the dairy product is very difficult to export. Like the lifetime to expiry date is very low. It's need for very high investment in the dairy product. We have in here in Saudi Arabia more than 20 or 24 manufacturing dairy product. So we have some difficulty, but we have arranged that with the expand internationally. We have like import from Saudi program. We attend all the world exhibitions. We have like more than 24 commercial attaché will help us to expand, to identify the new buyer and potential buyer as well. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Haitham. And I felt, Clément, that you wanted to react at one point on the...
Yes, of course. You were asking what's the next big thing. I can tell you what the next big
Because
thing is.
that's brilliant, because it was my next question, because I know you're working on some product innovation. I would love to hear more.
Exactly. Because obviously, having a vision of saying it makes a lot of sense to have dairy product made out of camel milk in the MENA region as opposed to cow milk is one thing. The other thing is actually making the cheese or making the yogurt. And maybe what not that many people know is that it is actually very difficult to make either cheese or yogurt out of camel milk because of the chemical composition of the milk.
Right.
Right? It doesn't coagulate like cow's milk does, right? So here comes the innovation. It took several years of R&D to get there, and now, get to market is yet another challenge. And we're hoping that Saudi Arabia will be a leader in this. And of course, they have a lot of great dairy companies here, Al Marai and all the other ones that we hope will get into this trade. And I understand this is aligned with the Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia. And of course, from there, they will export this into the whole region where there is an appetite, there is a market for this type of product.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Clément. Maybe, Mustafa, a quick word about do you have examples of recent successes where France Originelle really played a key role in connecting French dairy producers with clients over here? And can you probably give us some insight on what made those partnerships thrive?
Yes, we succeeded in having a big contract with an airline, local airline, for two references, French Gruyère and not Switzerland, well, not from Switzerland, French Gruyère, and also blue cheese from Auvergne. Um, I would repeat that there is, in addition to what I said before, this is important for us to be in contact, in deep contact with the customers, with the local partners. Very often what is a reproach to mainly French companies, small companies, is that they don't come enough to understand the market, to understand who the actors are, who specializes in this field of activity, who is not, who is a challenger. And this is really part of my job, to be here as often as I can. I travel a lot, and this is what helped the dairy company I represent to get this contract with the airline. And we also set up new business a couple of weeks ago with the French chain, of organic products in Dubai. And I think that you have to be very patient. It took us, I think, 1 year to find the right selection of products. Among this selection, we had to remove a couple of them because of one ingredient which was not halal. It's often it sounds bizarre, to talk about halal issue when it comes to dairy, but for some countries, this is imperative that what we call the rennet is not from animal source.
Mm-hmm.
So the success is a succession of small steps that will help you pass the different stages.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Amy, just before this conversation we're having with the other panelists earlier on, we're speaking about training, about education, about programs, to promote the culture, the traditions, and the products, of course. At the USA Cheese Guild, I know there's some educational programs. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it gets to that point of, raising that awareness about our products, about our industries. We invest in providing training and education for the local food trade within a market. One example is we actually have a global trade program, training program called the USA Cheese Specialist Certification Program, where we're educating the local food trade about our products and how they're applicable to their business. For example, looking at food service. We partner with culinary institutions around the world to offer a specific training program for chefs to better understand, the wide range of cheeses that are available, how they perform in the kitchen, and looking at, the different uses and applications that they have. When we do that in partnership, as I mentioned, with the culinary institutes. We also invest on training and, getting our importers and distributors who are bringing the products into the markets, helping them to better understand how to optimize their, product portfolio, how to have cheeses from Europe and the U.S. to give their customers, options, and then how to sell those products, to either the retailers, the food service operators in the market. So training and education is really key, and, we're here to provide that to the local industry.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And Haitham, maybe if you could probably tell me if you, highlight maybe some of the key partnerships or agreements that have been, really fundamental in accelerating the growth of Saudi dairy products. Have you had like some very interesting partnerships?
Yes, we have several strategic partnership with like e-commerce platforms, the global one, and also we finance the local exporter to implement their product with those e-platforms. Also, we have like Alibaba, Amazon. Yeah, we have a partnership with them. Also, we have the partnership with several service provider for identify potential buyers for those exporters for whose need to find a potential buyer, which in what country he needs. Also, we have a partnership with the Exim Bank. They finance all the exporter if they want to expand his production line. If he want to, if he finds a buyer he cannot pay, he can finance the payment for the exporter. And that's what I remember for now. Okay,
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Haitham. Klima, I forgot to ask you this question. I wanted to ask you earlier on. We were speaking about innovative products. Of course, if you want to sell something, you need to have a good product. And we are talking a lot about innovation, and this is what you're doing at Organa. So what are the challenges are you facing to bring innovative products to market and in general when you're wishing to access a new market that you don't know, and how do you overcome them? Maybe some clues there.
Sure. So first of all, there's the demand aspect of it, because when you're bringing a new product to market, you may have an idea of whether it will work or not, whether consumers will like it or not, will buy it or not, and that's the first step. Trying to ascertain that the demand is really here. This is why, speaking for me, we are betting very hard on yogurt. And maybe cheese, is something that comes a bit further along the line, because we're not as sure as for yogurt around the demand. Demand for yogurt, we're really sure. Demand for our kind of cheese, maybe we'll see. And the only way to see is actually try and put it on the shelf and see whether it sells or not. So that takes some time. And then, of course, there's in the camel milk trade, there's the issue of the supply chain in milk. And one of the reasons that we're betting big in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf region is because in the recent years there have been extremely great investments and great efforts to actually structure the collecting and processing of camel milk, which is not the case, for instance, in North Africa. And this is why we see great prospects in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf region, as opposed to North Africa, that is lagging behind in camel milk production, for instance. Yeah.
Right. Maybe, Amy, any successful example that you can share with us about, how you are really, or partnerships or initiatives that you put in place that have helped increase the presence of American cheese on international markets, especially in emerging regions?
That's great. As I mentioned, we have a training program that we offer in partnerships with the culinary institutions, again, to do that awareness and education. But more on the commercial side, we focus on developing partnerships with key importers and distributors in the region. We want to focus on working with who the leaders are and bringing food products in and distributing them within their countries. And, we look at how can we support them. We offer a range of services, again, helping them to optimize their product portfolios, helping to train their sales staff on how to sell the products within their portfolios. What can we do to, support their customers at food service, coming in and bringing chefs in to do menu development, ideation, things like that. It's all about working together in partnership to grow the market for our products.
Fantastic. One final question. We have, I think, less than 2 minutes, let's say. If in the room we have like people wishing to do this, I mean, export and navigate, like you said at the beginning, navigate this very challenging environment that you need to understand, and this market which is different. What would be your one advice to those who wish to enter this dairy trade and export at export level? What would be your one advice to them?
To contact me.
Clément?
Oh, yeah, it's true. You should actually contact Mustafa. He's doing a great job. I cannot offer any advice because I'm in the process myself.
All right. Amy, Haitham?
Maybe we'll do some partnership between us.
Marhaba, welcome.
That's one of the reasons why we're having these conversations here, is to make
for sure.
connections and connecting the dots, right? Amy, I think you got the final word.
Patience and persistence. It takes a while to enter a new market and kind of lay the foundation. But I think, in markets like Saudi Arabia, we're still really seeing, things change very rapidly, and there's great opportunity. So it's really kind of, being patient and being committed to be there for the long term. And I think it will ultimately pay off for everyone.
Brilliant. It was great to have this conversation with all of you. Thank you very much. Come on, some applause to our lovely guest here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.